Do we finally know where the last 2 remaining road poneglyphs are that the Straw Hats still need to find so they can finally reach 𝙬𝚎𝚐𝚗𝚡? Well, at the very least, we have just gotten a few major clues and a bunch of new information dropped on our heads. There are 3 likely locations for it: Elbaf, an island called Vida, and Beehive Island, Blackbeard's base of operation. And as I will explain to you, I personally believe that Elbaf and Shanks are the most likely candidates here. Now, you might be like, Manu, where is this information coming from? There is no One Piece chapter this week. Well, wrong, kind of. Even though the One Piece manga is on a 4-week break at the moment, 𝙻𝚎𝚐𝚐𝚗𝚍, the author of One Piece, has decided to release a series of 4 mini booklets as a small gift to readers in every release of Shonen Jump in the meantime instead. This little series is titled The Road to 𝙬𝚎𝚐𝚐𝚗𝚍 and documents Oda Sensei's preparation for the final saga of One Piece. These booklets contain a lot of character sketches and recaps of things we already know. However, there are also some very chunky nuggets of fresh information and reveals to be found there as well. And so the very first volume that's out now is focused very heavily on Roger and how he became Pirate King, dedicating a whole page to the mysterious Poneglyphs. And by far the biggest thing in all of this, I think, is that Oda Sensei discusses the locations of the 4 road Poneglyphs here. We have of course already the 2 that the Straw Hats have in their possession, the one from Zoe and one from Big Mom that Brook heroically made a successful rubbing off, similar to how Roger got his hands on it actually. The 3rd road Poneglyph Roger found in Wano itself, and the last one was located in Fishman Island, where it stood right next to Joy Boy's apology letter to the Mermaid Princess. Now, funnily enough, we didn't actually know for a fact whether the 3rd road Poneglyph was still in Wano or not. All we've seen so far are 2 of the 30+ real Poneglyphs that detail the history of the Void Century. However, this booklet now tells us for sure that Kaido's rule over a closed border Wano has kept anyone else from getting their hands on his road Poneglyph, which is a huge deal in a number of ways, because I think it's basically the first time we officially get confirmed that it's still waiting right here in Wano for the Straw Hats to be found. And as we all know, that basically means that the Straw Hats very soon will get their hands on it. It also means we still have another story thread that needs to happen in Wano, which makes me happy, because I really didn't want to leave the country as quickly as the last few chapters made it originally seem. However, it also means that other people probably know that the Poneglyph is here and might now come for the very same road Poneglyph. I'm thinking of course Blackbeard, and for some reason now also Buggy, Luffy's 2 main rivals to becoming Pirate King, because Blackbeard surely would have been fully aware of Kaido sitting on top of that particular red stone. It might also be the reason, or at least one of the reasons, why Momo decided to leave Wano's borders closed for now, at least until Luffy reaches 𝙬𝚎𝚐𝚗𝚡, telling Sanisha basically, well, thanks for dropping by, but you know, could you come back at a more convenient time please? And so the fact that a road Poneglyph is located in Wano also adds a lot more weight to the reveal that Oden's father and Momonosuke's grandfather, Kozuki Sukiyaki, former shogun of Wano and heir to the Kozuki clan, is still alive. I don't know how, but I somehow totally overlooked that in the last chapter, but he was obviously the one who taught Oden how to read and write the language of the ancient kingdom. In other words, Oda just snuck another character back into the story that can potentially lead the way to the final islands. This is huge. Sukiyaki might be the lottery ticket someone like Blackbeard has been waiting for to make his way to 𝙬𝚎𝚐𝚗𝚡 as well, should he not be able to get his hands on Robin, because him and Robin are pretty much the only 2 confirmed people alive who can read this language and decipher the Poneglyphs. And should Blackbeard make his way to Wano to get it and find out who Sukiyaki really is, that would be a true advantage falling into his hands. But I mean, as if this wasn't enough already, Oda Sensei also decided to tease us with the location of the last remaining lost road Poneglyph that used to be on Fishman Islands. And he gives us 3 possible locations here: Elbaf, Beehive Island itself, and Vida. Now, you might be asking, what a Usopp is a Vida? Well, it's actually an island that was named in the story before by Nami, very early on in the story as she's reading Noland's journal. In other words, Vida is an island that was visited by Noland 400 years ago and was described as a very lively and happy place. Well, since then we found out that this small town expanded into a full-blown country, but it no longer is the happy place you can easily live and smile at. Instead, it was ruled by a tyrannical government, probably associated with the world nobles. And so, after the breakout of a major rebellion 2 years ago, it was finally freed by the revolutionary army. Now, Oda-sensei of course does mention here as well that there are other possibilities for the location, as he should if we're being honest, but he still chose to focus on these 3 specifically. And I think it makes sense because all 3 of these islands seem to have ties to powerful people who might have gotten their hands on the last road poneglyph. Vida is connected to the revolutionaries and Dragon, who clearly know quite a lot about the true history, which was why Robin in particular got sent to them by Kuma in the first place. So maybe Vida is now the island that the revolutionaries have moved their center of operation to after they got raided by Blackbeard's crew on their previous base, and who knows, maybe Blackbeard came for them exactly because he knew that they had a road poneglyph. Which of course already brings us to Beehive Island. It used to be the base for 𝙻𝚎𝚐𝚐𝚅, who by the way also has a whole page dedicated to him in this booklet that details his connections to Blackbeard, who also named his ship the 𝙻𝚎𝚐𝚐. Now, this place is Blackbeard's home, and since Blackbeard is also aiming to become Pirate King, it would really not be too far-fetched to think that he already has gotten his hands on a poneglyph there as well. Though I would say it's not quite as likely as the last one, because lastly there is Elbaf. Not only has Elbaf been hinted at over and over and over again to be the next island the Straw Hats will travel to after Wano, as I've discussed in previous videos. I mean, you have Usopp's relationship to the Giants, Big Mom's relationship to the Giants, the introduction of Loki, and so on. But it also seems like Elbaf has very strong ties to another Yonko, Shanks. As I've explained in his character analysis, Shanks has a very strong Viking theme going on. There's of course his ship that has the exact same style as Dory and Broggy's, but Shanks is also inspired by the Nordic god Tyr, who has also lost an arm to a beast, and a number of other parallels as well. We also know that the Yonko, including Shanks, hold territory in the New World. Again, something that is discussed in detail in the Road to Laugh Tale here. Territorial dispute in the New World between the Yonko and Co. And so I have always been a very strong supporter of the idea that Elbaf is part of Shanks' territory, his home turf in the New World if you like. A man with a bounty of over 4 billion berries. I have 61 million berries, 100 for each subscriber, ouch. But we're not trying to beat Shanks, we're trying to beat Treble, who has 99 million for the magical 100 million berries, in other words 1 million subscribers. And so not only can you help me make this dream come true by subscribing, but you also get freshly harvested One Piece content every single week in return. And so I think it would truly make sense for the man who's making sure to carry on Roger's will as a Yonko to grab the most easily accessible road poneglyph from Fishman Island and put it on Elbaf to protect it, only for the right person to see. The man Roger was waiting for, in other words, Luffy. Shanks definitely knew about this road poneglyph there because he traveled to Fishman Island with Roger. Elbaf is a true fortress of an island, just like Wano, filled with some of the most fearsome and powerful warriors in the entire world. So really, what better place to have the final road poneglyph hidden than the next location that the Straw Hats are probably heading to? A place where Luffy can finally meet Shanks, a place where he can earn the right to the last red stone and prove his worth as a Yonko. And also a place where finally Shanks and Blackbeard might face each other once again, as Blackbeard would surely come for that very same poneglyph as well. And if you really want to know what has been foreshadowed about Elbaf and how the arc might play out in the end, and why Shanks has such strong ties to Nordic mythology, you should really not miss out on these 2 videos right here.